So guys, the crypto markets are still trading sideways right now. We have some really important events happening this week that is really going to be really decisive in terms of the price action that we're seeing with Bitcoin and Ethereum, and if altcoins are going to be ripping up or if they're going to be dumping. Today I want to walk you guys through those key events, the price action that we're currently seeing with Bitcoin and Ethereum, specific zones that are really going to let us know if we're going to be deviating more or if we could be seeing a little bit of relief and altcoins ripping up. But if you're new to my channel, go to check out the rest of my content and keep you guys updated on the day-to-day events, price action on Bitcoin, Ethereum, altcoins, how liquidity is shifting, and exactly what you need to be aware of. Guys, last week we talked about a lot of important events that were taking place with pretty much the Fed, on top of that with inflation data and a few other different things. And right now we're also having more important events happening this week with the Fed, Jerome Powell speaking, and a lot of more important information around the US economy, inflation, and a few other different things in terms of how the Fed is going to be determining rate cuts. And this is super important for how liquidity is moving into the markets. Everything is trading sideways right now, which is why the data and information that comes out this week is super important. And without everything else being said, guys, I want to walk you guys through that specific talks, exactly the news that are going to be happening, as well as the price action that we're currently seeing. Let's jump straight into it. So guys, like how I said, the crypto markets are still trading sideways. Bitcoin's currently sitting at around 105,600. Ethereum's currently sitting at around 2535. Everything is seeing a little bit of a recovery after a crazy deviation this week with the talks with Trump and everything that we're seeing. I made a few videos talking about it, so if you didn't go watch those videos, guys, go watch those, just talking about the news events and keeping up with the day-to-day. But altcoins, guys, are also seeing a little bit of recovery, sideways price action, just pretty much following what we're seeing with Ethereum. But if we see the sentiment in terms of what's going on with buyer liquidity and where everyone is shifting their assets, you can see Bitcoin dominance is still seeing a little bit of a deviation, sitting at around that 64% zone, pretty much having a hard time reclaiming that 65% zone. But it's all in due time, guys, based off of exactly what we're currently seeing and what we've seen in previous time spans as well. USDT dominance, so is really pointing to the fact that right now everyone is kind of hedging their bets on Bitcoin, but everyone is also still in altcoins based off of what we were currently seeing last week. But moving into the Monday and Tuesday and some of the important events that the Kobesi letter is discussing, this is really going to let us know if we're going to be seeing more allocations to USDT and pretty much more deviations with altcoins, Ethereum, and Bitcoin. But the key events that are going to be happening this week, guys, starts off with the May ISM manufacturing PMI data that's coming out tomorrow. Another huge event that's happening tomorrow, guys, is the Fed. Jerome Powell is going to be speaking, the Fed chair, and this is super important, guys, to see exactly how Jerome feels exactly based off of the data that came out around inflation, the GDP data, as well as more information around specific industries within the US. Moving into Tuesday, that's whenever we're going to have the April JOLTS job openings data. Then Wednesday, we have the May ADP non-farm employment data, which is going to let us know a little bit more exactly about the strength within the economy and jobs and everything like that, which moves into Thursday with the initial jobless claims data, and then 6, the May jobs reports data on Friday. So it's a big week, guys, for the labor market, and whenever it's a huge week for the labor market, the US markets in general, it's a huge week for crypto assets as well, because if everything looks super bearish for the US markets and how everything responds with these specific data points that come out and percentages, then we could be seeing a huge deviation happen with our assets as well. And this is why it's super important to keep up with this information, and on this channel I do all of that, so make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. But jumping into a few different perspectives from crypto analysts and traders that have been here for a few different cycles and are currently seeing what we're seeing. A few of them are talking about the price action that we're currently seeing with Bitcoin, a little bit of a cool off after the huge rip up. Crypt Intelligence X talks about this specific perspective. He says, what's going on with Bitcoin in the market? Bitcoin is cooling off after an impressive 40K move to the upside in 43 days, but Bitcoin lost the strong upward trend. So what's next? From there, he jumps into a specific narrative around the moving average, also the Fibonacci sequence that we're currently seeing in perspective based off of specific points. But just to sum it all up for you guys, if Bitcoin loses the local low at around 100,703 with the Coinbase chart and a few other ones as well, this is what I've been talking about on this channel. We could be in for a ranging market structure over these summer months. So this is where, you know, we need to be keeping up with this current price action. If we start to see breakdowns based off of the news events that that come out with the U.S. markets and all of the stuff with the Fed, this is where you can be anticipating sideways price action or even much more deviations. So this is super important, but I keep you guys updated with all that info. So as long as you're subscribed, you're going to be aware about what's going on. But Crypto Mitch now gives his perspective around Bitcoin as well. He says a decisive week coming up for Bitcoin. If it breaks back above 106,000, the big party is about to happen. With PMI and unemployment data during this week, which we just discussed, I assume we'll have a lot of volatility. And he is right about the volatility, but will it be bullish or will it be bearish? It's all based off of how Jerome Powell is going to be speaking about, you know, how the U.S. markets are looking, inflation, all of that stuff, as well as the employment data that comes out. On top of that, we still need to be aware of how Trump and this China trade war is taking place, because this is also having a huge effect on the market. But I really do believe that we're going to be seeing a lot of volatility in the market. It's just a matter if it's going to be bullish or bearish. Jumping more into exactly the altcoin markets, Crypto Mitchell says the altcoin market capitalization is still consolidating beneath crucial resistance. If that level breaks at 940 billion, that's when we'll start seeing new all-time highs, which is so true. But we also could be seeing more deviations going back to that lower green pretty much zones that he has on this chart, which would show that we start to see a little bit more deviations before the huge rip up. So while he is maintaining the bullish, perspective, you got to be aware of the other perspectives as well. Now, Crypto Mitchell also shared a few other different perspectives around what we're currently seeing with altcoins valued against Bitcoin and how it's still super bullish. But at the end of the day, the macroeconomic events are much more important than what we're currently seeing on the macro lens with a lot of these assets. Also, he talks about how if ETH goes below that sub 2400 before the next leg up towards 3000, it's going to be a great opportunity for everyone to start buying, because altcoins are going to be affected by it, which is really points to the fact that he actually thinks a deviation more than likely could be happening before the huge rip up. He also shows a great chart showing the momentum that we've been seeing with altcoins, and right now how it's been lasting for so long, and that's why this cycle is much more different than other cycles, guys. A lot of people are going to be sidelined due to the impatience, as well as not being aware of how liquidity shifts. So this is a great a post talking about exactly what we're seeing with altcoins, why a lot of people aren't going to be making it, why this is the biggest altcoin cycle that we're going to be seeing, at least based off of previous cycles, and moving forward. So jumping into exactly CryptoCon's perspective on the cycle right now, he says even though the Bitcoin cycle is right on track, it is becoming more and more difficult for people to stick around due to one major difference: the lack of altcoin season, which is so true. Everyone before, guys, would only have to wait about a year, 2 years, and then from there they would see altcoin season. And right now, that's not pretty much the case. This is officially the longest it has ever taken an alt season to trigger, and most are wondering if it's even possible this cycle. It's clear that alt season will not be handed to us on a silver platter this cycle. If you want to be here for it, you're going to have to believe and hold through the unknown, which is what we're doing right now, guys. But as long as you've been aware and keeping up with the channel, you feel a little bit more confidence in what's going on. I'm kind of holding your hand through all of this process, and I'm going to be letting you know when I'm selling. I'm not selling though right now. Jumping into it, pretty much wrapping it up, he says alt season remains a critical part of the bull market parabola, which is super important and super consistent with every other cycle. He says which data has told us hasn't come yet. We're still on the verge of that huge rip up. Everything about this cycle has been pushed out. Patience is the only way through. And we can see it, guys, based off of Bitcoin dominance charts, what we've seen in previous cycles. But if you're not keeping up with all of these, specific charts, the perspectives, the narratives, how liquidity moves, then you're going to be, missing out, and you're not going to be, here when alt season happens just because you're impatient. But like I said, if you're aware of this channel, I keep you guys updated with all these charts and all this information, which is why you just need to be patient. Now, if we look at my portfolio, guys, you can see the crypto markets are trading sideways, and my portfolio currently right now is also trading sideways, seeing some deviations, but overall, I'm still very bullish based off of where I'm at in this cycle. A lot of these specific, coins are making higher lows, and as a result, it's really showing the strength in these assets. But moving into this week is really going to let us know if we're going to be seeing that huge rip up for Bitcoin and Ethereum, which in turn is going to cause our altcoins to rip up, or if we could be seeing deviation. So swiping everything to the side, guys, right now we have some key events happening this week. Mixed sentiment based off of what's going to be happening. We already have some important stuff happening tomorrow when the markets open up, with Jerome Powell speaking, and a few more data points that are going to be coming out past Monday. With all that being said, we need to see how the markets are going to be closing out on Friday, because last week, guys, pretty much we closed kind of bullish, but then we had all the talks with Trump, the trade war with China, and as a result, we saw massive deviations on the weekend, which what's happening right now. But keep up with all this information, guys, and I keep you guys updated with all this stuff so you guys don't have to be shuffling through all this information. So if you're new to my channel, go ahead and check out the rest of my content. I keep you guys updated on the day-to-day events, price action on Bitcoin, Ethereum, altcoins, how liquidity is shifting, specific altcoins to buy, and how you can position yourself to make those crazy gains. Guys, I made a few videos talking about specific altcoins you should be looking at right now. I also made a few specific videos about day trading, as well as overall what is going on in the markets, like with videos like this one today, talking about key events that are happening and what we're currently seeing. Overall, guys, I'm really bullish, but everything could be trading, a little bit more downwards before we see the huge rip up, or we could be ripping up if we see bullish sentiment and bullish news come out this week. So make sure you guys stay tuned. I'm gonna keep you guys updated with all that information. If you guys have any questions or suggestions, drop them down below and I will get to them shortly. I am super busy, but overall, do not capitulate your bags, and hopefully you guys make it to alt season. I'm going to make it, and I hope you guys do too. So make sure you guys stay tuned, and I'm gonna keep you guys updated with everything you need to be aware of. Peace.